Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. Today we're going to talk about one of the most electrifying matches of this Champions League season. Manchester City hosted Real Madrid at the Etihad Stadium and saw victory slip away in the final moments. A match that had everything to end with a positive result for the English side, but ultimately resulted in a spectacular comeback for the Spaniards. And let me tell you, the reaction from the global press couldn't have been harsher. Spanish newspaper Marca did not hold back in its criticism, boldly stating, "This could be the worst team ever managed by Pep Guardiola." Could that really be the case? We're going to analyze all of it, including statements from the Catalan manager himself, who seems to be running out of answers for City's poor form. So, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into the analysis. Let's start by talking about the match. Manchester City opened the scoring early, with none other than Erling Haaland. The Norwegian once again showed why he is one of the deadliest strikers in the world, putting the citizens ahead. But on the other side, there was also a star who knows how to make a difference. Kylian Mbappé equalized in the second half, proving that Real Madrid were not there just to play around. City, however, didn't back down and pushed forward. Haaland, from the penalty spot, put the English side back in front. The Etihad Stadium crowd started to dream of victory, but Real Madrid is the kind of team that never gives up. Brahim Diaz equalized again, and in stoppage time, Jude Bellingham sealed a dramatic comeback for the Spanish Giants. It was a heavy blow for City, who now need to win by 2 goals in the return leg at the Santiago Bernabeu to qualify without needing penalties. If they win by just 1, we go to extra time. But what really caught attention were the criticisms from the press. Marca, one of Spain's biggest sports newspapers, did not hold back in its assessment of City's performance. According to the paper, this is the weakest team Guardiola has ever managed. They claim that the defense is vulnerable, the attack is no longer as efficient, and the team has lost the dominance it once had. So, do you think Marca is exaggerating, or do they have a point? City certainly seems less dangerous than in previous seasons. It's worth noting that, besides this negative Champions League result, the team has already been knocked out of the EFL Cup and is far from competing for the Premier League title, currently sitting in 5th place, 15 points behind leaders Liverpool. The situation is so concerning that Guardiola himself admitted he has no answers. In his post-match interview, he said he doesn't know how to solve the team's problems. And that's rare. Guardiola has always been a manager who finds solutions to challenges throughout his career. But this time, things seem different. He acknowledged that Real Madrid were the better team on the pitch and admitted that his players were anxious at certain moments in the game. Furthermore, he conceded that when they were leading 2-1, the team didn't position themselves correctly. They didn't know whether to push forward for a third goal or sit back and defend their lead, and that indecision proved costly. Real Madrid, far more accustomed to these situations, took advantage of the spaces and secured the comeback. What stands out in this Manchester City crisis is not just the result itself, but the context. This is practically the same team that dominated English football in recent years and won the Champions League last season. So what has changed? For many experts, the answer lies in the team's loss of intensity. Last season, City had a rock-solid defense and a midfield that controlled games to perfection. Players like Rodri, De Bruyne, and Bernardo Silva ensured possession, dictated the tempo of matches, and created plenty of chances. But this season, some key players have struggled. De Bruyne, for example, missed a large part of the start of the season due to injury and is still trying to regain full match fitness. Rodri remains crucial for the team, but hasn't been as consistent as last year. And in defense, Ruben Dias and Akanji haven't been able to provide the same security that the team once had. Another important factor is Haaland's dependence. Yes, the Norwegian continues to score goals and be decisive, but City seems more predictable with him. Previously, the team had a more dynamic attack, with goals coming from various sources. Now, the attacking plays appear to be increasingly focused on the number 9. This makes it easier for opposing defenses, who can better prepare to contain the main threat. Even Guardiola himself has shown signs that he feels something is wrong. When a manager of his caliber publicly admits that he doesn't know how to solve the team's problems, it's a huge warning sign. Guardiola has always been a brilliant strategist. known for finding innovative solutions. But this time, he seems to be trapped in a tactical dilemma. Real Madrid knew how to exploit these weaknesses well. The Merengues' midfield, led by Kroos, Valverde, and Bellingham, dominated possession and managed to find spaces in City's defense. The English side, which has always been known for suffocating their opponents, looked lost at various moments in the match. And this hasn't only happened against Real Madrid. City had already been showing signs of fragility in other games this season. In the Premier League, for instance, they dropped crucial points against teams that, in previous seasons, wouldn't have posed much resistance. Moreover, their early elimination from the EFL Cup also set off alarm bells. But what can Guardiola do to change this scenario? One option is to adjust the defense. If City is vulnerable defensively, perhaps it's time to strengthen that area. Guardiola could opt for a more conservative tactical approach, reinforcing the midfield and providing better protection for the back line. Another alternative is to change the way the team attacks. Instead of relying so much on Haaland, the manager could try to distribute the plays more effectively, giving more freedom to players like Foden, Grealish, and Bernardo Silva. And, of course, there's the psychological aspect. City need to regain their confidence. This team has already proven that it can be dominant, but they seem to have lost a bit of their winning mentality. And for a club that wants to stay at the top, that is crucial. The second leg against Real Madrid will be a true test of fire. City will need to play at their absolute best without mistakes, and with a strong mentality to withstand the pressure of the Santiago Bernabeu. If there is one manager capable of turning things around, it's Pep Guardiola, but he will need to find answers quickly. The big question now is Manchester City truly in decline, or is this just a period of fluctuation in a difficult season? If we look at the recent history of Guardiola's teams, a pattern emerges. His style of play demands an immense level of intensity from the players, both physically and mentally. Over the years, this can lead to natural wear and tear, and perhaps that is exactly what is happening with City this season. It is worth remembering that Manchester City have had difficult phases under Guardiola before, but they managed to bounce back. In some seasons, they started the Premier League with setbacks, faced criticism, but then strung together a winning streak and steamrolled their opponents. However, this time, the situation feels slightly different. The gap to Premier League leaders Liverpool is already 15 points. If this were a previous season, one could imagine City chasing down that deficit and fighting for the title. But this year, Klopp's side's consistency and the citizens' inconsistency make that scenario much more difficult. And what about the Champions League? The competition Guardiola so desperately wanted finally arrived last season, but City now face a serious risk of early elimination. Playing at the Santiago Bernabeu has never been an easy task, especially when the opponent is Real Madrid, a team that seems to have a pact with this competition. Real Madrid's history in the Champions League speaks for itself. They have repeatedly shown they know how to handle pressure moments. That was the case against City in 2022 when they pulled off a historic comeback in the second leg. And now, with an aggregate lead, they have everything in place to repeat the script. But if there's one factor that can help City, it's the individual talent of their players. Haaland is a monster inside the box, and if given space, can tear apart any defense. Kevin De Bruyne, despite an inconsistent season, remains one of the most decisive midfielders in the world. Moreover, Guardiola knows he needs to make full use of Foden's speed and Bernardo Silva's creativity to dismantle Real Madrid's defense. The burning question is, will Guardiola change his strategy for the second leg, or will he stick to the same approach? We know the Catalan manager is not a fan of radical changes. He has a well-defined philosophy and rarely deviates from it. But if there were ever a time to try something new, that time is now. Perhaps he needs to sacrifice some possession in favor of a more direct game, exploiting counterattacks and catching Real Madrid's defense off guard. The reality is that regardless of what happens in the second leg, this season has already set off alarm bells at Manchester City. Could Guardiola's cycle be coming to an end? Does he still have the energy to rebuild the team and forge another dominant side? Many fans are beginning to wonder if Guardiola is experiencing something similar to his time at Bayern Munich. He had brilliant years in Germany, but by his third season, the team started showing signs of wear, and he left at the end of the campaign. At City, Guardiola has been there even longer. He has built one of the greatest teams in Premier League history, but does this side still have the same hunger for victory? Do the players still fully buy into the manager's ideas? The clash against Real Madrid could be a turning point. If City manage the comeback, they could gain huge momentum for the rest of the season and regain their fear factor. But if they are eliminated, the criticism will only grow, and the pressure on Guardiola will be immense. What do you all think? Can Guardiola still turn things around, or is it time for changes at Manchester City? Could this elimination, if it happens, mark the beginning of the end of this victorious cycle? So guys, what's your take? Does Manchester City still have the strength to turn the game around at the Santiago Bernabeu, or is Real Madrid already through? Will Guardiola manage to reinvent this team, or are we witnessing the beginning of the end of an era? Drop your opinions in the comments. I want to hear what you all think about this situation. And of course, if you enjoyed this analysis, leave a like because it really helps the channel. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure to do so and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. We always bring you the best analysis and discussions on European football. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. We're in this together.